And welcome back again, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander of Keeping It Honest. We don't just keep it simple, we don't just keep it real, we keep it honest. And really, honesty is what this episode is all about, breaking news. But before I get to that, we'd like to thank you for watching us. Tell your friends, hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the share button. Let's keep growing. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. You know, we try to do things from the left side, try to do things from the right side. And at the end of the day, we hopefully you decide. You may not like what we have at the end of the show, but at least you will respect because we're giving you the truth. No holds barred. You have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly as parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can leave a voice message. That number, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And you can also text us too. And I've been fascinated by so many messages I have received about some of the shows that we've done. Very controversial. You know, sometimes when we do our shorts, we just put enough short on there that even if you don't see us, you know our signature is to make you think. Whether it's 15 seconds, whether it's a minute, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's a half hour, whether it's an hour, our job is to make you think. You can get it other places, but we do ours with a Parker twist because we keep it honest. And honestly, with everything that's been happening with the president, with the conventions, now it's VP pick. Is that the person that you thought? I'm going to tell you, I was hoping it wasn't this person because whether I like Trump or not, especially after he had an assassination attempt, it looked like he was going to win. Holds barred. It looked like even if people didn't like him, he showed that he could be the president again. Almost in a good way. But now, because of his VP pick, I just don't know. People kept saying, or the pundits kept saying, well, he's going to get somebody like him. He's going to get an older person. He's going to get a rich person. He's going to get somebody like Pence. Is he going to get somebody that, like Ramaswamy? Somebody young, but somebody who is no holds barred. That at least you could kind of put up with to a point. And especially after his assassination attempt, you wonder, well, did he flip on who he was going to get? Or did he go to the person that he knew he was going to go? Life's too short, he probably said to himself, if I'm going to have a legacy, who would I want it to be in political office? And boy, did he get a potential legacy. But I think it's going to be Trump 2.2.2.0, dial down on the energy dude. His person, J D Vance. United States Senator J D Vance. And if you don't know who he is, well, I'm going to show you in this episode who he is. We're going to do a backstory on him. We've got information. We've got so many issues that he's for and against. This includes social services, and this is all code now, foreign policy, child-free marriages, divorce and domestic abuse issues, fiscal responsibility, trade policy, antitrust laws, and his relationship with Donald Trump. No, it's not going to be a boring show because it's not just me, but he was in the news. And he's a guy, if you love Trump, you're really going to love this guy. If you're on the wire against Trump and saying, okay, well, maybe Trump might change if he gets in office. Well, because of who this person is, J D Vance, these are some of the things that he said after Donald Trump's assassination attempt. And remember, words do have meaning.
For making his initial post, Republican U.S. Senator J D Vance posted the following, saying, quote, "Today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump..."
So right there, okay, this is going to be your vice president if Donald Trump wins. And what does he say? Today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. And he is saying that the premise of the Biden campaign is that this is the guy that you want to be your vice president and potential president. Because if something like that happens again with Donald Trump, if he's in the White House, then this guy will be your president. But yet there's more to this.
That rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination.
So this guy feels that because of what Biden has said, that it has led to his assassination or potential assassination. Wow. Keeping it honest, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. What do you have to say about that? United States Senator from Ohio, J D Vance. You have any comments? You have any criticisms? You have any questions? Let me know. Because I'm curious, what do you think about that? We're going to give a background of some of his policies. And, if you thought that was controversial, then wait until you see what we're going to talk about. Keeping it honest, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. And like I said, we're going to be talking about J.D. Vance, an interesting politician. Whether you like him or not, you got to give him credit, though. He's come a long way in a short amount of time. Now he is the vice presidential running mate to Donald Trump, a younger version of Donald Trump. Well, sometimes it takes a minute to get to know somebody. And maybe I'll find myself wrong. Maybe I'll find myself right. But I've seen him over the years, and he just comes out bang, 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 bang. And I thought Vivek Ramaswamy was kind of high energy. Man, you've got J.D. Vance. Which one would I have liked more? Well, at first I thought Vivek compared to J.D. Vance. I don't know. We're going to find out. So before we start judging yours truly, we're going to hear and see the story of J.D. and his rise to power and what he did to get to the spot where Donald Trump said, hey, you know what? I want you. We're keeping it honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander.
J.D. Vance has had a meteoric rise in the Republican Party. From a best-selling author and never-Trumper in 2016,
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
to winning a U.S. Senate seat at age 38.
So he said he never liked Trump. So how is he his running mate? What happened to make him change? Can we change? Sometimes we do.
And now, he's former President Donald Trump's running mate.
Elect Donald Trump in 2024. God bless you, sir.
Vance is very much a creature of the new Republican Party that Trump has shaped in his image. By picking Vance, Trump is showing he's doubling down on this MAGA agenda. It's a full-throated, populist, national conservative ticket.
Here's why the Trump-Vance ticket is a big deal for the future of the MAGA movement and the GOP.
So look at this picture right here. Is this your future president and vice president of the United States? Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump after he does his 4 years, if he wins. That means J.D. Vance might be president or running for president in 4 more years. Where do you see this Republican Party going? Is this your mom's Republican Party? Is this your Republican Party? Or is this Republican Party that's somewhere down the line? Do the current state of Republicans, are they scared of these two? Or are they saying, wow, this is where we want to go?
JD Vance first catapulted to fame in 2016 after he published his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. The book detailed his experience growing up poor in Rust Belt, Ohio, and making it to Yale Law School.
So Hillbilly Elegy, if anybody has read that book, let me know. I'm going to pick up that book and probably talk about it on one of the shows. But he's 39 now, so he's a young guy. And he has a story to tell. Whether you like the story or not, this book was also made into a movie.
It was a smash hit and became a Ron Howard-directed movie in 2020.
I know I could have done better. But you got to decide. You want to be somebody or not?
We're trying to paint this white nationalist movement as a movement primarily of poor and working class Americans, when the truth is that the alt-right is actually led by better educated and frankly pretty well-to-do people.
So I wonder too, because I can tell you from running for Congress, you saw him, young face looking candidate. Did they say, hey, you know what, if you need to be taken more serious too, grow a beard? Because after you grew the beard, it seemed like people started taking him even more serious. That's just how I feel. For example, if you're a Star Trek fan, Riker. If you looked at Riker in the first couple of years of Star Trek, he didn't have a beard. Nobody took him serious. As soon as he got that beard, that's when Star Trek got better and people started taking him serious. That's my little Trekkie side note. So we are talking about JD Vance, and he is Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. So now let's talk about some of the issues while we're going through this. Social issues. So Vance opposes abortion, and he has indicated that he may support a federal ban on abortions after 15 weeks. He has more recently said that abortion laws should be set by the states. When asked whether abortion laws should include exceptions for rape and incest, he said, two wrongs don't make a right. Vance opposes the Respect for Marriage Act and has said, I believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, but I don't think the gay marriage issue is alive right now. I don't know what that means. I'm not one of these guys who's looking to try to take people's families and rip them apart. Vance has proposed a bill that would make gender-affirming care for minors a federal felony and block taxpayer funds from being used for it. Wow. Saying in a statement, under no circumstances should doctors be allowed to perform these gruesome, irreversible operations on underage children. What do you think about that?
His initial foray into the public spotlight, Vance was very much anti-Trump. His book made clear that he was a conservative. Many people latched onto it as an explanation for Trump's sort of surprise success in the Republican Party. And then
so over here, some of the quotes, it says, J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy provides a window into the pain and anger of Trump's America. So that book was kind of based, I guess, on what was happening in his life while Trump was president. The next quote says, best-selling Hillbilly Elegy helps explain Trump's appeal. So one's about the anger of Trump's America, one's about the appeal of Trump's America. And this last quote, in Hillbilly Elegy, a tough love analyst of the poor who back Trump. And so that one's backing Trump. Two backing Trump, one's against that. Wow. So now look at him. He's working with Trump. Immigration and border security. J.D. Vance's views on this. He once admonished Trump for demonetizing immigrants, but he repeatedly called the effects of illegal immigration dirty. He has supported Trump's proposal for a wall, and he rejected the idea that advocates for the wall are racist. So that's interesting. So if you put up a wall, you're racist. But he's rejected that. That's good. Vance has proposed spending $3 billion to finish Trump's wall. So I guess if Trump becomes president, they will do that. In 2022, he told Tucker Carlson that Democrats have decided that they can't win re-election in 2022 unless they bring a large number of new voters to replace the voters that are already here. So he is saying, and this is what I don't like, bringing immigrants into the country will be potential Biden voters. Is that what Vance is saying? I think he is. This led to political opponent Tim Ryan's allegations that Vance was endorsing the white supremacist Great Replacement conspiracy theory, according to which there's an effort to replace white Americans with immigrants. That's interesting. Something to check out, the white supremacist Great Replacement conspiracy theory. Tim Ryan is saying that Vance is supporting that. During his 2022 United States Senate campaign, Vance said that President Joe Biden was flooding Ohio with illegal drugs by not enforcing security at the southern border. New York Times called it blatantly false. So he wasn't doing that. In 2023, Vance introduced a bill that would make English the official language of the United States. And on that one, I agree because, this is the United States.
And in the election,
When Vance launched his campaign for the Senate in 2021, his stance on Trump underwent a big shift.
So I didn't know he had lost. So when he lost, he probably grew a beard and said, you know what, I'm going to look into this, what I was against with Donald Trump.
I obviously didn't fully appreciate the president's appeal in 2016.
Yeah, he said some bad things about me, but that was before he knew me, and then he fell in love.
So is that what's going to happen with America, with J D Vance? Are they going to fall in love with him because we don't know who he is? But once we get to know him, we're going to love him and not loathe him, like some people.
he even described himself to me in one interview as a flip-flop flipper on Trump, saying that he had similar policy views but was against Trump as a person until he realized that Trump was advocating for the policies that he supported.
So let's see. Okay, some of the policies. Here we go. Now let's talk about J D Vance's opinions on foreign policy. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, Vance said the United States did not want to pull out of the NATO, but he argued the United States should shift its focus to East Asia and that certain European and NATO member countries are not spending enough for their own security. And I might agree with that too. I don't know if Trump said, you know what, we're all in this together, so let's spend kind of evenly. If Vance is saying that, then I might agree with that. So now Vance is a vocal critic of the United States military aid to Ukraine in the ongoing Russia-Ukrainian war. He has said it is in America's interest to accept that Ukraine is going to have to cede some territory to the Russians. He's faced criticism for this and for his views on Ukraine. In December 2023, he was criticized for calling for the suspension of further aid to Ukraine because he said it would be used so its ministers can buy a bigger yacht. I don't agree with that part, but I do agree that we should take care of our own. Vance supports the United States funding to Israel in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. When asked whether he would support military action against Iran after militants allegedly connected to Iran, they attacked the U.S. troops, Vance said that it would be a mistake, citing concern it would be a significant escalation. So he feels it could potentially be war. One thing that Trump didn't do, there was no war. One thing that's happened on Biden's watch, there's been a few wars. Would this happen with Vance Trump? Would they stop the wars? Trump said he would. And he's got a backer with him, with J D Vance.
While running for Senate, Vance was one of several pro-Trump candidates in the primary. But in one debate, Vance was the lone candidate to oppose a NATO-enforced no-fly zone over Ukraine. And that caught the eye of Trump's inner circle.
What a no-fly zone, it sounds nice, like we asked the Russians not to fly planes over Ukraine. What it means in practice is American Marine Corps pilots, Air Force pilots, and Navy pilots getting in dogfights with Russian jets.
which the problem with that is it's not in our vital national interest.
That impressed Donald Trump Jr., and he began advocating for Vance's candidacy, including with his father.
Trump's unique brand of conservative politics has been reshaping the core tenets of the Republican Party since he was elected in 2016.
And some people like that and some people don't. How many people didn't really want Trump to run? How many people have been scared that he would destroy America? Well, after the assassination attempt in his hand, with the flag back there in the background, a lot of people say that picture was what America is all about. Even though he got shot and almost got killed, he said, wait, and put his finger up and stole everybody's heart. Whether you're a Trump supporter or not, is that what you would want for your president to be? In the times of trouble, bam, you're going to stand there and you're going to be what America wants you to be, the person to look up to. That's Donald Trump. There's my election campaign speech. But even if you're a Biden fan or any of these other people that are running for president, but what happened to Donald Trump? Some people saying they couldn't even kill him. Okay. And if killing was the worst thing, then running for president is easy. That's my commentary. So you're watching Keeping It Honest, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. And you know what's interesting? I've had some texts that people have said that didn't really happen to Donald Trump. They just did that to make sure he gets the vote. How many people out there think that? Text me, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. Email me, parkerman2011@gmail.com, parkerman2011@gmail.com. And we're talking about J D Vance being Donald Trump's running mate for vice president. And we're talking about J D Vance's issues. So he supports the United States funding. Okay, I already told you that. For Israel in the Hamas war. So child-free marriages, divorce, and domestic abuse. Now this is interesting. In a 2021 speech to the Intercollegiate Studies Institute, Vance blamed the childless left for America's woes. Don't know exactly what that means, the childless left. He praised conservative Hungarian Prime Minister Orban for encouraging married couples to have children and said that parents should have a bigger say in how democracy functions than non-parents. I think anybody should have a say. It should be equal. You're kind of putting a dislike to people who are not parents. Well, if you're not parents, that's your choice. But are you a citizen of the United States? Yes, you are. So I don't agree with him on that. They should have a bigger say than non-parents. Everybody should be equal. Also, September 2021, while speaking at Pacifica Christian High School in California, this is what Vance said. This is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is the idea that, like, yeah, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. What sexual resolution is he talking about? Vice wrote that Vance seemed to suggest that in some cases, even violent marriages should continue. Wow. In response to Vice, Vance claimed that rates of domestic violence had skyrocketed in recent years due to what he called modern society's war on families. In recent decades, rates of domestic violence have decreased. Okay, fact check. So Vance is saying they increased, but the facts are they decreased. So a strategist for Vance called Vice's characterizations misleading and said Vance does not support people staying in abusive relationships. I hope not. Let's look more into Vance and know more about this particular story, one of the issues that he's for or against.
Like tighter borders and a retreat from the world stage. He's changed the GOP so much that the Republican National Committee recently revamped its platform to a new, stripped-down version, one that focuses more on Trump himself than on specific policy decisions.
And you know what, too? This will be interesting. Is he a believer in Project 2025? Now, they've been asking Trump because they said, if Trump gets in, they're going to use some of this 2025 and abolish certain government agencies and make it more like a Russia state. Trump has said himself, and I've seen it where he says, I don't know anything about this. I don't know. But a lot of the people's former staff members, former associates, are part of this Project 2025. And this is, I guess, a situation that would take place for the Republican president. And technically, if the Republican president is Donald Trump, then him. But he's saying he doesn't really know much about it. But he has associates that he's known and worked with that are a part of this. And some people are saying if this takes place, Project 2025, civil rights, racial rights, individual rights will be destroyed. So I'm curious, what is J D Vance's take on Project 2025?
Trump has been changing all of those stances to the point where many older Republicans feel it's no longer recognizable. At the same time, a movement has arisen in Trump's image that believes in his policies and believes that the Republican Party should be reshaped in his image.
Believers in this movement, referred to as the New Right or National Conservatives, take Trump's impulses and turn them into doctrine.
So what happened to the people, the Republicans that were scared of Donald Trump? So now they align themselves in, and then especially after the assassination attempt, are some of the old school now going back to Trump, but knowing, okay, well, Vance is going to be his Robin. And how many people, Republican Party, don't like Vance, but like Donald Trump? How many women? Because you have to see about different voters. Are you surprised that he didn't get a Hispanic? He didn't get an old white guy. He didn't get a minority person as his running mate. Make America great again. Now, some people who were Democrats that were leaning towards Trump, African Americans, are they turned on or turned off by J D Vance? If you're going to vote for Trump because you liked him, and if you're going to vote for Trump after the assassination attempt, thinking that maybe Trump was going to be a little bit more caring because of his running mate, now J D Vance, has it made you even more stronger to vote for Trump? Or maybe say, I don't want to go down that road. I don't mind Trump, but I don't like J D Vance. But then the other choices are the independent candidates and Joe Biden. And then if you don't like none of them, do you vote at all? I'm just keeping it honest. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. And we're talking about who's J D Vance. So his views on antitrust laws. So Vance has expressed concern that large tech companies, they have too much influence in politics, that's true, and the flow of information, and has called to break up Google, as well as implying he believes Meta should be split up. So if he gets in office with Trump, is that the end of Google? Wow. He has called Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, Chair Lena Khan, a Biden administrative member who is doing a pretty good job, so their job should be not on the line, citing her antitrust enforcement against tech firms. Okay, so I think she'll stay in place. Vance and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse introduced the Stop Subsidizing Giant Mergers Act. Now, if that's including just companies just getting together, I agree with that. which would end tax-free treatment for corporate mergers and acquisitions of companies above a certain threshold. So that's really stopping the big conglomerates. Now, I'm totally for that. Now, is Trump for that? It's going to be interesting to see now if they get in office, if some of Vance's issues, and maybe a little bit different from Trump's, will stay the same, or if Trump would pick up some of Vance's issues. But I like that, stopping these merger acquisitions. Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023. So Vance was among the 31 Senate Republicans who voted against the final passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023. And in trade policy, what are his views on trade policy? So he has supported protectionist reforms. He has advocated imposing tariffs on China, and he proposed a bill to remove China's most favored nation status. That part is interesting, something to look into. But as far as imposing tariffs, that's a good thing. So you're watching, keeping it honest, yours truly, Anthony Parker, as we try to find out who JD Vance is, besides being Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate.
Vance has become one of their leading voices.
The American people, again, they need people who put the interests of their own citizens first, of our own citizens first. And that's what this entire movement is all about. And I think that's what the Trump presidency will be about if we give him another shot, as I expect that we will.
Well, it's interesting because expect this, he will too, because he's going to be a part of that. Are they going to be more for the people? Because it looks like Vance has had a grassroots beginning. As we're seeing this story, we're getting the background. It seems like they're going to be tough to beat, but you never know. You never know. So stay tuned. And will they bring more youth voters? Maybe white males? White rural males will vote more now. Young will vote more now because JD Vance is there. And they want to make America great again.
When Trump selected Mike Pence to be his running mate, that was a pick very much intended to reassure Republican voters. Pence, being a traditional conservative, an evangelical Christian, was someone who regular Republicans who saw Trump as sort of an arriviste in their party could look at Pence and say, all right, that's someone I can trust.
So now that we have JD Vance, is that different from having Mike Pence? How has it leaned another way as far as Republicans, the old Republicans to the new Republicans? What are the Republicans saying? Are they for this or against it? Is America for it or against it? So what I like is that we're talking about different issues and values that JD Vance has. Climate change and the environment. So he's downplayed the effects of climate change. In response to a radio host, he said, no, I don't think there is either as far as climate change. He has said, listen to this. If you think that man-made climate change is a catastrophic problem, the solution for it is for us to produce more out of our own energy, including fossil fuels here in the United States. I agree with that part too. Implying that outsourcing energy production would cause more pollution. I don't know about that, but you want to do things in your own country too. Vance has also argued that environmental regulations have created and caused a large number of manufacturing jobs to be outsourced to other countries. He has proposed a bill that would repeal certain tax credits created by the Inflation Reduction Act for electric vehicles and would create a $7,500 tax credit for gas-powered cars manufactured in the United States. So are we looking to have more of these cars built in the United States? I think all of that is a good thing if you can keep stuff in your country instead of outsourcing all the time. And that way you will have more people in your country working.
Fast forward to 2024, it's clear that Trump no longer sees a need to share power with that wing of the Republican Party.
Right after Trump's attempted assassination in July, Vance was one of the first Republicans to publicly cast blame at the Biden campaign for the shooting.
And that's the part that I don't like. Like it says right here, today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump as an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. That rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. So let's flip that a little bit. Some people could also say that January 6th was also something that was directed from Donald Trump, President Donald Trump at the time, and other politicians. Words have meanings. Be careful what you say. Again, this is a white flag for me. Okay, if he feels that really that the Biden administration cannot push people to go after Trump, then don't you think that some people think that Trump pushed people to go after people on January 6th? Can we all just get along? And if we do get along, we can't be saying stuff like that. Words have meaning. They do. Labor unions. What is the policy on labor unions? He has said, as an abstract matter, yes, I support collective bargaining. He opposes the PRO Act, which expands protections related to employees' rights to organize and collectively bargain, instead voicing support for proposals by the conservative group American Compass, which includes workers' councils and sectorial bargaining. And he spoke in support of the United Auto Workers strike. Okay, so that's interesting. So he was for the strike workers and the labor unions, and these are the big ones that support these candidates. Wow. So he's going to be an interesting vice presidential candidate. Seems like he has his own voice, too.
As Republicans unite around the Trump-Vance ticket after the July 13th attack, Democrats remain in disarray following President Biden's disastrous debate performance in June. Biden has vowed to stay in the race despite continuing calls from fellow Democrats to step away from his place at the top of the ticket.
And it's interesting, too, now because the Democratic Party are looking at this as Vance and Trump against Biden and Harris. Is this going to be more pressure for Biden to get out knowing that Biden and Harris, can they compete with Vance and Trump?
I think there's a whole pool of voters there in the center of the electorate who really are not being spoken to by either candidate because of the way these tickets have shaped up.
Senators Marco Rubio from Florida and Tim Scott from South Carolina were also contenders on Trump's VP shortlist.
And I think more people thought it was going to be Rubio. Tim Scott is more or less a Mike Pence double. Because if you remember the debates, when they were debating, he was going after Trump a little bit. But then afterwards, after he got out, he just started kissing his behind. And the worst thing from Tim Scott is his voice, because it's so obvious when he is kissing Donald Trump's behind. And do you want a behind kisser as your VP? Just ask Mike Pence, because it may come back to bite you. And then you know what. Okay. And Rubio, if you remember, years ago, he was a guy running for president, and he kept drinking, so thirsty, that was the thing that stood out when he was running for president. And you know, Trump, he did go after him, but then they eventually did make up. So out of these three people, Vance, Rubio, and Scott, which one you think is the best candidate? Well, we know Scott would have been a great VP, just doing great VP stuff. Rubio, he'd have been able to go after the Hispanic and the young group. But would he have made a difference? Vance, I think, whether you like him or not, will really make a difference.
Both could have appealed more to minority voters, something that Trump has historically struggled with. Choosing Vance allows Trump to shore up support among the white working class.
Ohio is also part of the Rust Belt, and the most crucial states in this election are those Rust Belt states. That white working class vote is a vote that is also very crucial throughout those Rust Belt battlegrounds. There is a hope by some of Vance's backers and some on Trump's team that he could potentially galvanize those voters even more than Trump already does to juice Republican turnout in those states.
What was the Russia collusion hoax? It was a
So before we get to that, so will he lose the minority votes? Will he lose the young votes? Will he lose the Hispanic votes? Will some of those people now go to the independents? And if you're an independent, if you're Cornel West, if you're Robert F. Kennedy, if you're Jill Stein, anybody else who's running that could maybe make a difference or maybe not make a difference, this be your best opportunity to go after some of those voters, because they may say, the ones who are out there, the independents, well, none of these people I really like, but maybe I might like Cornel West, or maybe I might like Jill Stein. 11%, I think, is the independent vote. But if you're dissatisfied with Biden, and if you're dissatisfied with Trump, are you going to vote for somebody third party or say, you know what, I'll wait till another 4 years?
It's about destroying Donald Trump. This ridiculous New York fraud case, it's about destroying the guy's wealth before he re-enters the Oval Office.
It's good to see you, man. Thank you.
He is.
So look at that now. Potential president, vice president.
It's really a bet on the future as well, a bet on the future of the Republican Party and a bet on the future of the populist conservative movement. Trump would never say he's anointing a successor, but Vance was decades younger than the other potential picks that were under consideration for vice president. And
Yes, he is. Decades younger. So Donald Trump, 78. J D Vance is 39. And that's half his age. Pretty much. 39 is 78. So he's picking somebody. Is this the legacy of Donald Trump? And did this happen because of the assassination attempt? Did he decide, hey, you know what? It's all about legacy. Is Vance his legacy and the legacy of the political party, Republican?
in choosing such a young person to be on the ticket with him, there's an unavoidable implication that Trump has sort of chosen an heir, chosen someone to take the mantle of that MAGA movement and go forward with it, whether it's as a future president himself or simply as someone who is poised to exert great influence in the Republican Party, continuing to shape it along those populist conservative lines for.
That is very, very interesting. Run with Anthony Parker, Alexander, talk about J D Vance. I'm controlling everything while I'm talking, showing you a couple of videos and everything. What do you think of that? You think he's the best person that Trump could have picked? So his relationship, how is he with Donald Trump? Let's go back a little bit. They may have talked about that a little bit. But during the 2016 United States presidential election, Vance, he was a critic of Donald Trump. In a February 2016 USA Today column, he wrote this, J D Vance, that Trump's actual policy proposals, such as they are, range from immoral to absurd. In Atlanta and on the PBS show hosted by Charlie Rose, he called Trump cultural heroin and an opioid of the masses. In October 2016, he called Trump reprehensible in a post on Twitter, and he called himself a never Trump guy. And that was on his Facebook page. So a never Trump guy to a Trump guy. By February 2015, he began changing his opinion, saying Trump is one of the few political leaders in America that recognizes the frustration that exists in large parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Eastern Kentucky, and so forth. He supported Trump in 2020. That's where his big support came. In July 2021, he apologized. Now, he apologized for calling Trump reprehensible And he deleted posts from his Twitter in 2016 that were critical of him. He said now that he thinks that Trump is a good president, and he expressed regret about his criticism. Okay, well, he did express the regret during his 2016 election. And he was able to visit him right before his United States Senate campaign. So he's with Trump. And he agrees with Trump's false claims of election fraud. And he says that Trump lost the election, wow, because of widespread voter fraud. On April 15th, 2022, Trump endorsed him for U.S. Senate. So after this one guy, which I think is interesting, his name is Robert Kagan. He wrote an opinion piece called "A Trump Dictatorship is Increasingly Inevitable. We Should Stop Pretending." After that, Vance wrote Attorney General suggesting Kagan be prosecuted for promoting open rebellion by Democrat-controlled states. So because he wrote this, wow. Because he wrote this and gave an opinion, Vance said he should be prosecuted. It is revealing that their first instinct when attacked by a journalist is to suggest that they be locked up. So if he gets in office and the press does criticize him or Trump, if not Trump, then is Vance going to say, hey, Donald, let's go after this guy? Is the press going to have less authority as far as the freedom of the press? That's a scary thing. So we're still trying to figure out who Vance is. On June 30th, 2024, Vance said, I believe that the president has broad pardon authority. But more importantly, I think the president has immunity. You can go after a journalist, but if a president does something bad, he can't pay the cost. And this is what Vance thinks. What? So either he's going to double down on some of this, or he's going to change and modify some of his criticisms and beliefs on certain issues. But the one thing I do give him credit, he didn't seem like a flip-flopper through all this. He did apologize. But that's going to be the person who could be vice president and maybe president. And personal views, he's married, has 3 kids. They've been married since 2014. And for some of his professional career, they used to live in San Francisco. He was raised in a conservative, evangelical branch of Protestantism, but by September 2016, he converted to Catholicism. All right. And he says it had a strong influence on his political views. Wow. So, we kept it honest. J D Vance, do you like him after this? Do you love him after this? Are you going to give him a chance? He's with President Trump now, and they're running against President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And boy, if they do a vice presidential debate, it'll be Vice President Kamala Harris against Vice President candidate J D Vance. That is going to be interesting. More interesting than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I don't know, but I got my money on J D Vance and Harris. So we kept it simple, kept it real, we kept it honest. J D Vance. Donald Trump wins, he's your next vice president. Is he going to be a quiet vice president? I don't think so. Is he going to be the mantle? I think so. Did Donald Trump have J D Vance as his running mate before the assassination attempt? Or did he say, you know what? After getting shot, I need to look at my legacy. And then he decided to pick Vance. And are they going to be two people that go hand in hand? Are they going to be like the Joe and Barack? Are they going to be like the Trump and the Pence? Are they going to be like the Clintons and the Gores? Are they going to be like the Reagans and the Bushes? Who are they going to be? You have to be a team. But it looks like Vance will have Donald Trump's back. And once Donald Trump trusts you, he trusts you. From what I know. I don't know Trump, but that's what I've been reading about and told. Politics is interesting. 1 minute you could bash somebody, the next minute you're working together. Look at Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Back then, Kamala was dogging Joe when they were running. And then he decided to pick her as the running mate. And now that's what you got going into this next election. Is it going to be President Biden and Kamala? Well, we know it's going to be Donald Trump and J D Vance. So stay tuned. Exciting times, people. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly, parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can text me, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. Go to my Patreon page, and on that page is kind of like PBS. You go to it, I have 3 tiers, and basically what it is, it's like fundraising. You see the work that we do. We thank you for letting us be a part of this to give you the information. And you say to yourself, so I really like what Anthony did. I'm going to contribute this much. Now, there's 3 different tiers. You can contribute as much as you want. You're a part of our family, whether you contribute or not. But boy, it feels good when you do. I thank you for that. We gave the left side, we gave the right side. Let you decide. When I started this show, I was totally against J D Vance. Now, as I've been reading and giving you guys information, I'm open to see what happens. I hope I'm not right with my initial instincts. I'm hoping that as JD changed, yours truly can change too. And, everybody can change. And with this climate, we shouldn't be hating on each other. Let's just slow down, take a breath, and let's find out about each other and go from there. Thank you for subscribing. Continue to subscribe as we grow. You grow. We all grow. Tell your friends. Don't forget to hit the like and share button. Really appreciate it. Keep your head up. Always believe in yourself. And therein will lie your answer. I'm Anthony Parker Alexander. We don't just keep it simple. We don't just keep it honest. We keep it real. God bless.